Outlaw Rogue is a really fun, fast-paced DPS spec that concentrates on building up combo points to deliver massive bursts of damage with their finishers. Now, this is a beginner guide, and I'm going to help get you to Keystone Master or ahead of the curve in heroic raiding, and this build is going to help you minimize the amount of buttons we use while also dealing out a really decent amount of damage. First of all, this is the stat priority pyramid that you're going to want. Agility is, of course, going to be the top concern, but if you do have the same eye level gear and you're looking at stats, then we're going to want to start off with the largest amount here at the bottom in Verse, then Crit, then Haste, and then Mastery, needing the least of. Now looking at some of the major cooldowns we have as an Outlaw Rogue, and I will say there is a lot of them, and these are the most important, I think, that you need to remember. There are going to be some more that we're going to be going through when we look at the actual rotation itself, however, so just hang on in there for those. Now, at the top, we've got Ghostly Strike. This is going to do damage and cause the target to take even more damage for you, quite simply. Shroud of Concealment is a more party-wide utility cooldown, and this is going to cause a almost like Harry Potter's invisibility cloak over you and the entire party, meaning you can move through groups of enemies without being spotted, and the entire party will be stealth. Very, very useful, especially in Mythic Plus indeed. Then we have Evasion down here, which is a defensive ability causing you to have a 100% dodge chance for 10 seconds, which is obviously fantastic. And then we've got Adrenaline Rush, which is going to give you increased energy regen, which is the rogue's main resource, and it's going to increase the maximum of that energy, and it's going to also increase your attack speed, so really fantastic offensive cooldown there. And then we have got Vanish, which is going to mean you can go into stealth in combat. There is also some others that do this as well, like Shadow Dance, which we're going to be using in your core rotation. Now, I would usually go through a lot of the utilities we have at our disposal, but with a rogue, there is so many that I really am just going to recommend that once you're more comfortable with the spec, you look through the spellbook and see what you have available to you, because the rogue has an gargantuan amount of kind of stuns and ways to incapacitate and gain threat or take threat off, etc. It is just crazy. So like I said, get comfortable with your rotation and the spec first, and then maybe look through at all the utilities you have in stealth and out of stealth in the spellbook when you're more ready. Now looking at talents, this is the main talent build I would recommend. You are able to make slight changes to this to get the absolute optimum DPS possible, but as a beginner guide, this is a spec I would recommend that is a kind of a bit more of an introduction to the specialization as a rogue in 10.2. I will put down below an import string so you can upload this straight into your game. Now, of course, that we've been through all of that, let's bring it all together and actually look how you're going to implement this and do your actual rotation. So starting off, this is the weak aura I use to track a lot of my abilities and cooldowns. I will put a link to that down below as well. And the first thing you're going to see is we've got 250 here, and that is our energy. That is our main resource as a rogue. Now, there's also some down here that you can't see right now, which you will be able to here as I build up. And these are your combo points. So you're going to build up these combo points to a maximum of 7. And then we're going to use things like Dispatch as our burst, which is going to spend those combo points. And these are otherwise known as our builders and our spenders. Now, before we go into combat, we're going to want to use Blade Flurry. And this is here on my action bar. This is where we're going to be looking at the rotation. So Blade Flurry, we're going to want to use before the pull and refresh it if this drops off. Now, secondly, we have our Sinister Strike. This is going to generate 1 combo point, sometimes more, depending on a proc. And we're going to want to use this as our main combo point builder. Now, as you can see here at number 7 on my action bar, it has procced our pistol shot. When our Sinister Strike procs our pistol shot, we make it happen again, like this, then you're always going to want to use that proc. And that is then going to proc Ambush. And we're always going to want to use that when that happens in that order. You can also use Ambush as a combo point builder, and that's going to award 3 combo points every time it strikes, and it is usually only available in stealth. So whenever you can use Ambush, whether that is in stealth and whether that is from a pistol shot, always use Ambush as your combo point builder. So just to refresh there, Blade Flurry before the pull and kind of keep it topped off. Sinister Strike as our main combo point builder, using Pistol Shot when it is procced from our Sinister Strike like this, and then using Ambush when that is procced from that on like this, and then also Ambush whenever we can if we are in stealth. One thing I will say is, when you're looking to use your finishers, generally we're going to want to use this at the 6 or 7 combo point range, and then if we are in stealth, we are able to use this at 5 combo points. So again, using our finishers at 6 or 7 combo points, and when we're in stealth, using this at 5+ combo points. Our main finisher then is going to be Dispatch. And this, when I say the main finisher, this is your finisher when you have nothing else to do. It's kind of like your filler finisher, because there are actually a few things that we're going to want to keep up using finishers at all times. Now, these are going to be mainly between the eyes, and this is going to be a finisher we're going to want to use and keep up as much as possible. And the other one we're going to want to use is Slice and Dice. And you can see at 7 combo points, this is going to last for 48 seconds. So we're going to want to use that and between the eyes as our finishers, and keeping those debuffs up on our target as much as possible. You can see here, if I use between the eyes, it's going to give us a buff that is going to give us 20% increased critical strike. And then what Slice and Dice does is it increases our attack speed. And depending on the amount of combo points you use, this is how long it's going to last for. So again, use Between the Eyes on cooldown, use Slice and Dice to keep this up constantly on the fight, and then Dispatch as our filler finisher. Another cooldown we're going to want to use on cooldown is Roll the Bones. And when I use this, you're going to see that it's going to roll some dice. And here on this weak aura, we can see that we have got a combat buff. And this one is going to be for Skull and Crossbones. This means that our Sinister Strike has an additional 25% chance of striking additional time. And you can see on the weak aura here, it says SS, and that does mean Sinister Strike. So I really would recommend getting this weak aura, because you can see what buffs you're getting on this third row here. And we're going to use Roll the Bones on cooldown. Now let's look at our offensive cooldowns that we're going to want to be using on cooldown to make sure that we're dealing as much damage as possible. First off is going to be Adrenaline Rush. This is again going to increase our energy regeneration rate by 60%, our maximum energy by 50%, and our attack speed by 20%. So we're going to want to use this on cooldown. We're also going to want to use Blade Rush here on cooldown, charging with our blades out, dealing damage and damage to all other nearby enemies. And while Blade Flurry is active, which again is that one that we're going to try and keep up, remember, at number 1, we are going to damage non-primary targets at an increased rate of 100%. Again, Ghostly Strike. And again, remember, we're keeping all 4 of these we're using on cooldown. We're going to use Ghostly Strike, striking an enemy for damage and causing the target to take 15% increased damage from our abilities. Last but not least is Shadow Dance. This is going to allow the use of all stealth abilities and grant combat benefits of stealth for 6 seconds. And this is not going to be broken from taking damage or attacking. So if we go into Shadow Dance here, we can then use, of course, things like Ambush. And another thing to mention is that when we are in stealth, we're only going to want to use Between the Eyes as our finisher. Okay? And another way to go into stealth is going to be Vanish. And again, we're only going to want to use Between the Eyes when we're in stealth as our finisher. So ways to get into stealth here is going to be Vanish and Shadow Dance. We're also going to want to use Adrenaline Rush, Blade Rush, and Ghostly Strike on cooldown as our offensive cooldowns. One good tip here in regards to using Between the Eyes in stealth, etc., is to only use Between the Eyes if your Vanish is at 45 seconds cooldown and your Shadow Dance is over 15 seconds cooldown. And that's a best kind of method at making sure you can use Between the Eyes when you are in stealth from those abilities. And that is pretty much it for the beginner rotation as an Outlaw Rogue. It is a bit complex, managing different buffs and debuffs on your target and going in and out of stealth using cooldowns, but hopefully I managed to simplify it in a way that was easy to understand. If you do have any more questions, feel free to leave them down below or join my Discord where I can have an open discussion with you about anything you may need help with, and we do have other rogues in the Discord as well. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and don't also forget to check out my other guide videos.